Well, let's check in with the markets now. Local stocks were down today, with the all-share almost 0.75% in the red. Markets are being unnerved by the possibility of new sanctions against Russia. Gary Booysen from Rand Swiss joins us now. Gary, thanks indeed for your time. So red across the board today, Gary, but we're not any different from what's happening elsewhere, are we?
I think we're just tracking international markets today, and it is a little bit of a lackluster day. We had the Chinese markets close, both the mainland Chinese markets and the Hong Kong market for Qingming Day, which is a tomb sweeping day, and that's taken a little bit of the volume out of the market. We did have a very, very strong move in Chinese tech counters, specifically last night, the ones that are listed on the S&P 500, the ADRs, on a loosening of regulations from China around inspections of their companies by non-Chinese authorities. So that was positive, definitely. But you get the sense that the market is just tracking sideways. I mean, the all-share index, as you said, down almost 0.75%. Resource index down about 0.4%. Industrials almost down 1%. Financials down almost 1.5%. So it really wasn't sector specific. And I think everyone's just treading water, waiting for US earnings season to start up next week.
It was a boring day on stock exchanges, but it wasn't that boring for Twitter. Elon Musk is now on the Twitter board, and the story doesn't seem to be going away. You know, it's over 24 hours now, and it's still very much on social media. I mean, what's the impact of this? He's the biggest individual shareholder, and there's talk now that he can influence what actually happens with Twitter.
No, well, that's absolutely true. So, if you look at the Twitter stock price at the moment, it's up another 5% after, rising well over 25% yesterday. And you're 100% right. He will have a significant say in the company now. And one of the reasons for that is that Twitter's capital structure is very different from some of the other large technology companies, which have special voting rights for founders' shares. Twitter doesn't have this. So with Elon Musk buying a significant portion of the company, he bought a 9.2% stake. He is going to have a big voice in how they appoint management. It's people have been saying this is a real test for Parag Agarwal, who's taken over from Jack Dorsey, and it has always been seen as a very steady hand. But you get the sense that Elon Musk maybe has a different agenda and a different hope for what Twitter can accomplish. The interesting news that broke today was that he could be once again in violation of SEC rules. Your viewers might remember the accusations of market manipulation when he said Tesla had his other company had funding secured at 420, and the SEC obviously not happy about that. But now saying that he was obviously buying this stake and didn't meet the regulatory requirements for disclosure, while at the same time obviously announcing on Twitter, or at least discussing the idea of either starting a social media company in competition to Twitter, and obviously posting the poll that said, is free speech essential to the functioning of a democracy? Now the regulators looking at this and saying this could potentially be market manipulation, but we'll see how that plays out.
Indeed. And just before I let you go, Gary, so what happened with MTN today? This company and Nigeria just doesn't seem to be on smooth sailing seas for a long, long time now. The share down, close to 8.5% today?
Yeah, so well over 7%, and that's 8.5% at one point, and a couple of items on the news feeds. Nothing out on the stock exchange news service, which is meant to report any really market sensitive news. So maybe they're not considering this as market sensitive. But on the terminal feeds, we saw that MTN and Airtel will have a ruling came out of Nigeria today saying that they could potentially have up to 20% of their SIM cards cut off. Now, this is I suppose an issue that has been well telegraphed to the market. The idea that you have to register with national identity numbers in Nigeria. MTN has, MTN, the South African listing anyway, has sanitized this to an extent with the listing in Nigeria as well. So Airtel coming out and saying that this is just a blip, and we will see any sort of re-registrations coming through by the fourth quarter. So maybe market looking at that. Also the announcement that the planned separation of their fintech business, which is planned to go ahead by the end of the first half. We'll see JP Morgan Chase advising on that and working with the company. And that's also a significant story for the company, which could potentially have to raise capital down the line. We've seen estimates that this fintech business could account for almost a quarter of MTN's value.